common for all the particular files. Like the configuration file we have given, the Hibernate configuration file. Okay, so here already the code will be written, just we need to use it according to our requirement. Similar to the templates in a mobile asset, the same thing is happening here. So here reusability is more. We can use the same thing again and again in different places. Now coming to Spring, Spring is lightweight and open source framework, and it was developed by Rod Johnson in 2003 actually. Okay, so Spring is a complete and a modular framework. Like it has the core, the advanced, the WebMVC, the Spring JDBC, Spring AOP, all these things are there. Okay, so in this thing we need to see the particular implementation in an application. And now here we have API. What do you mean by API? The application programming interface, which has the interfaces, classes and abstract classes. So any programming language will have the API. And here, why we can say that Spring is lightweight? What is the reason you can say? Simple thing. Spring is lightweight because of what do you mean by POJO? What is the full form?
Plain old Java object.
Right. Plain old Java object you can say. Okay. So in these things we don't have any restrictions like we have to implement a serializable interface, or is it the private or the public thing. So mostly we use the variables as private and the methods as public. That's a common thing we have. Okay. So here Spring Framework made a J2W application development little easier by introducing this particular POJO model. Along with that, we have few other things also. Three important things of a Spring. So what is it you can say? First is simplicity. Second is testability. And third is the most important concept of all the things, loose coupling. This is the most important concept. If you understand this, the most of the coding part will be easier. Okay, similar to upcasting we had in like core Java method overriding. What is upcasting definition? Anyone remember?
Parent reference holding the child object.
Parent class can hold
child object.
Right. Parent reference can hold child object means a superclass reference can store the subclass object you can say. Right. So here why it is simplicity? Because of the POJO class. Right. And what do you mean by this testability and loose coupling? That we have to see. We'll see that testability. Here, for a Spring application, it's not mandatory that we need a server. If you consider other like frameworks, like we have the struts thing, JMF is there. So for that struts application, we need a server. And even for the EJB, which we discussed at the time of Hibernate. Okay, so here if you want to test an application, it may need a lot of changes in the source, and each time we must restart the server to view the changes. Simple thing what you have done in a servlet. What we used to do, if we modify a .java code or a servlet code, we need to recompile and restart the server, right? So, which is time taking and which we can overcome using the Spring. So here, for testing the Spring application, server is not mandatory. Okay, Spring has its own container to run these applications. That's the main difference. Apart from the threads or the EJB or the servlets, where they depend on the server every time, whereas the Spring is a thing which does not depend on the application server, and it contains its own container to run the applications. So what are the things? We will see these things. And here Spring can be used to develop any kind of Java application, like standalone or the enterprise application. All these things we can develop by using a Spring module. Okay. So what is loose coupling? We'll see an example. Based on that, you'll understand properly. Already we know the example of simplicity. That plain old Java object we have to see, like we have seen in the Hibernate framework. The similar thing will be there. Okay. So the bin class and the Pojo class are similar. Bin class has to follow the rules, whereas the Pojo class doesn't have to follow the rules. Okay. So here Spring versions are there. Presently it's running on this 4.0 is there, but we'll see from the basics onwards. In the 1.x we had 7 modules actually, whereas we have a next version, you can say 2.x framework, where it is divided into 6 modules. So what are the 6 modules? You can say simple thing, Spring core, second is Spring context, the J2W thing, what we say, and the third thing is Spring DAO. We already seen this DAO, right? So DAO means what?
Data access object.
Right. So in this thing we have Spring JDBC. So again we need to learn the core part, the JDBC part, then the ORM model is there. Right. So what is ORM means?
Object relation model.
Object relational. Right. And the fifth model is the Spring AOP. So AOP is nothing but a aspect here. Oriented programming. So what is that aspect oriented programming? We'll see in the introduction of that module. And the sixth one will be the Spring Web MVC. This is the most important thing you can say. Because in industry we will be using the Web MVC mostly. Okay. So among this, already you are aware of DAO and the ORM. In the Spring core model, we need to see a few concepts. The injection, setter injection, construct injection. Few concepts will be there which are important. Along with the loose coupling is the most important thing. After that, the AOP, the aspect oriented programming, and the Spring MVC. So these are the things we need to follow. At least an awareness is required among all these modules. Okay. Now, if you see that in 1.x actually, the web and the MVC were separate. I said 7 modules were there, right? In 2.x, what they have done, they merged the web MVC and they made it as a single particular module. Okay. So here we can see the architecture of it, or the diagram of the thing. Consider I have a particular application, and in this thing we have a Spring Core. Suppose this is Spring Core, you can say, and the Spring Core will have this part. Like the next thing will be the Spring AOP, the DO part. The DO and ORM are the related things, so you need to see simultaneously. Then the J2W part, and after the J2W you can say we have the last thing known as Spring Web MVC. So the entire model structure of a particular Spring, you can say. So what is the first thing you can say? Spring Core container. Without the Spring Core, you can't even go forward for the other concepts. So Spring Core container is the things which we require to know. And apart from that, we have this. What is it? Spring AOP. So that's an AOP. And here we have a DAO, data access object, and we have the ORM. The J2W thing, what we have to see, J2W is nothing but the enterprise edition, you can say, and the web MVC. Okay. So these are the things we need for architecture, you can say. Okay. So we need to see what are the things one by one in the next sessions, you can say, one after the other. First, what is the core model is there actually? Okay. Here we need to differentiate between the tight coupling and loose coupling, which is the concept of the core model. Okay. So first we'll take an example. And here, suppose already we have seen this kind of an example in core Java, like the vehicle example I given for an interface, right? If you remember, a vehicle and a car. So car is a vehicle, right? And Audi is a car. In that we have seen three things. Interface concept was there. Along with the interface, we had a abstract class. Along with the abstract class, we had a class. Right? Now, I'm not going in depth of those things. I'm just saying we have a class. What is the class? You can say traveler. If a traveler has to like roam the entire city, he need a car. You can say audio also, or else just a simple thing called car. And you can say just move. What this car is doing, this is moving from one place to another place. And whatever the logic you want to write, you can write it here. Okay. Now, if you consider, if a traveler has to travel, he need a car object. So we'll create a car object. And void start journey. If I take another name of a particular start, what is happening here? I need to move. Whenever I start the journey, I need to move. In which thing I can move? I can move in a car. So I'll just say C dot move. Understood what I'm trying here? Just a simple scenario that a traveler needs to travel on a car, and whenever he needs to travel, he will call the particular move method, right? Or the start journey. When he calls the start journey, the move method will start. So in the move method, whatever the logic you want to write, you can write it directly. Okay. Now in this example, what is happening actually? What is the problem we can face by using this example? So in the above example, or that car is there, or apart from the car, we have a traveler. The car object is being created inside the traveler. If I remove this car, is there any use of this traveler now? Can the traveler get executed if I remove the car? Is it possible?
Yeah.
No.
Here, what I'm trying to say, two classes are there, a traveler and a particular car. I'm not taking the interface or the things, I'm trying to explain a concept here. So simply, if two classes are there, if a class is being removed, then the other class is depending on it. So unfortunately in future, the car has to be removed, the car has to be changed to a truck. Is it possible? We need to change the entire code, right? That's the problem. Suppose if the traveler wants to travel in a particular truck now, so can he use this particular same car example? No, he has to change the product. So that's a problem here, that one class is depending on another class. So whenever we need to have a change, we need to change the code, and that's the problem. That is known as tight coupling. Tight coupling is nothing but one class is depending on another class. Okay? So here, what is happening if the other class object is in the independent class, like the car, and here there exists a particular tight coupling in this example what you have seen. And I mean, if a method in car object is changed, when we need to change that in the traveler class too, right? So that is a problem we are facing, and in order to overcome this, we need to see the loose coupling. Okay, so in Spring Framework, we have this dependency injection or a mechanism which we have for the POJO, and here by using this dependency injection, we can overcome this drawback. Okay, so how to achieve this particular loose coupling between the traveler class and the class? Like we need to change some code. We are making it independent, and we know that. See, I said the traveler need to change that particular car to a truck, and obviously you know that car is a vehicle, truck is also a vehicle. If you consider, everything comes under a vehicle itself, right? So if I write a vehicle instead of a car, then it is more useful because I can change that particular vehicle anytime. The user might change that vehicle, right? But the code doesn't have to be changed. That's the advantage we have. So if I see, I'll just keep an example of it. Like I'll copy this thing in the side. Now I'm going to write that loose coupling code now. This example is a tight coupling. Simple thing, what is tight coupling means? Nothing but a class depending on another class, you can say the tight coupling. Here we have an example of tight coupling. Now what is loose coupling we have to see? Consider I'm writing a vehicle. What is a vehicle? So instead of calling the move method from a car, I'll write that move method inside this particular vehicle itself, right? And you know that for every vehicle it has to move. Either it might be a car or it might be a truck, right? And we know that if I'm saying that car is like vehicle is an interface, we have a class car which implements vehicle. Here, what is happening? We need a move method. Why? Because we are implementing. And we know that if a class implements an interface, all the abstract methods must be overridden. As we know that The move is a by default abstract and public method. It must be overridden in the car with the public and abstract itself, the public method itself. So what are the logic you want to write, you can write it. Okay? And if you take a truck also, like I said, we can remove that particular object with the truck also, right? So if a truck is also there, which implements so we need to override that move, right? Now, these two are the different things which we didn't do the previous one. Previously it was independent. Now I need to write this part. What is that part? You can say the main code, the traveler. So class is there is nothing but the traveler. And inside the traveler, I need to write this particular object. Create an object. So we know that whenever we need to have a upcasting, we need a superclass reference. So among these, all the things, super is nothing but the vehicle. Right? Vehicle is a super road interface, you can say. Okay? And here in that vehicle, we have a move method. Now, if a traveler class is there, in which we create a vehicle reference. The public void set. What you're trying to set? You're trying to set the vehicle object. Is it clear till now? I'm saying that I'll set that object, which is you want. Either you want a car or you want a particular truck. If you want, you can have one more class also. There is no restriction. So now what start journey. So v dot move. So what are the class you are given here, that will be shown. But this is local, right? And this is an instance. How to differentiate between a local and instance? What is that keyword we use? Anyone?
This.
Yes, what is that keyword?
This.
This.
This
dot equals to v. We know that this is instance, this is local. And we know that the move thing will execute whenever we have an object of v. So I am setting that object, and based on the object we can call the things. Right? So when a particular user wants to change the vehicle, he just need to specify that class name. Based on that object will be created. And here, what is the advantage of this concept? The traveler is independent of any of the class, car or truck. Without car also the traveler can travel. Without the truck also the traveler can travel. Understood? Till now, is that clear? So what is the thing we are trying to do? Here, if you see the example, the spring container will inject the car object or the bike object in the traveler by calling the setter method. So if the car object is replaced with bike, then no changes are required in the traveler class. So this means what? Loose coupling. And between the traveler and the vehicle object, actually the setter method will be activated through the XML file. Okay? So what is the XML? Again, why we need XML for a Spring? What is the Spring code? All these things we'll see. Understood till now? Any doubts? Anyone? Hello? Is it clear till now? The example of the tight coupling and the loose coupling. If you say, then I'll continue. If you have any doubt, you can ask. Fine. So now after this tight coupling, loose coupling, what I'm trying to say, I need to see the dependency injection. Just we are discussing about the right dependency. Here, in this IOC, when the class object need to get any primitive variable or it needed to access any other class object, it may need new collection to access them. So, here, if you consider an example, a third person will provide the required things of the primitive variables or objects. So that is the most important thing. When someone is trying to send an object and we need to receive the thing. So our class is not responsible to get all those collaborations, like the primitive values or the collections things. And here we need to perform any lookup operations to access the particular values. Okay? So Spring Framework, one external, like what you can say, third party is there who will inject the particular values. Like if you take a ticket counter also, a customer is coming and giving the input. If the customer does not come and if he doesn't give the input, the ticket cannot be sold. Simple, right? And here also, what is happening in this particular Spring, a client or a third party will inject the values. Okay? And in the Spring IOC container, you can say Spring Bin class. So what are the dependency injections we have that we have to see? So now, first thing, setter injection. Second thing, constructor. And last and the important thing, you can say interface injection. Interface injection, you can say. Okay. So here in Spring, what it supports actually. In this, dependency injection is there, and here 1.x and 2.x are two different scenarios. For the 2.x, we have the three things: setter injection, constructor injection, and interface injection. Whereas when you consider that 1.x, that 1.x consists only two particular things. One is setter and one is constructor thing. So it's better you follow the 2.0. Okay. So what is that setter means? That we have to see. So first thing will be we know that setter methods and getter methods, right? Setter injection and the getter injection, you can say. Okay. So the Spring container uses a setter method in the dependent class for injecting its dependency from the primitive values or any other values, you can say. Okay. So the Spring container knows whether to perform the setter or constructor injection by reading the information from the external file called as a Spring configuration file. Like similar to the HBM file, you can say Hibernate mapping file is there. Or the thing is, we need a constructor injection based on the server it will execute. Like the Spring will decide which particular thing it requires. From the configuration file only you can access. Okay? Like we are mapping the columns to the table using the Hibernate Pojo class, right? Mapping file in a similar way, you can say. Okay. So here, in the case of setter injection, the class must contain a setter method to get the dependency. Otherwise, Spring container does not inject the dependency on the dependent object. Simple thing, just now you have seen an example. Here we are using the set method, right? In a similar way, it's saying that we need a setter method which takes the parameter as an object. Okay? Simply చెప్పాలంటే ఒక క్లాస్ కి ఇంకో క్లాస్ కి డిపెండెన్సీ ఉండదు. ఎందుకంటే దాంట్లో ఒక్క క్లాస్ మార్చినా మొత్తం కోడ్ మొత్తం ఎఫెక్ట్ అవుతుంది. ఓకే, ఎలా చెప్పాలంటే మనకి ఇనిట్ మెథడ్ ఉండే, ఇప్పుడు ఇనిట్ మెథడ్ ఒక దాంట్లో చేంజ్ చేయాలంటే నేను అన్ని సర్వీస్ చేంజ్ చేయాల్సి వస్తుండే. అదే హైబర్నేట్ వచ్చేసి ఏమవుతుందంటే సపరేట్ కాన్ఫిగరేషన్ ఫైల్ ఇచ్చారు. ఇప్పుడు నేను ఒక దగ్గర చేంజ్ చేస్తే సరిపోతుంది, మిగతా వాటిలో దేనిలో చేంజ్ చేయాల్సిన అవసరం ఉండదు. అలానే ఆ పర్టికులర్ కోడ్ మొత్తానికి ఒకటే హైబర్నేట్ మ్యాపింగ్ ఫైల్ ఉంటుంది. సో ఏవైతే కాలమ్స్ ఉన్నాయో ఆ కాలమ్స్ ని ఆ డేటాబేస్ లో ఉన్న టేబుల్స్ కి నేను మ్యాప్ చేశాను, అది కాన్ఫిగరేషన్ ఫైల్. సిమిలర్ టు దట్ ఏ పర్టికులర్ సెటర్ ఇంజెక్షన్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేయాలా లేదా డిపెండెన్సీ లేదా కన్స్ట్రక్టర్ ఇంజెక్షన్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేయాలా అనేది కాన్ఫిగరేషన్ ఫైల్ లో మనం మెన్షన్ చేస్తాం with the tags. Based on that, it will execute. That's the thing we are saying. Okay. So here in Spring, we call each class as a Spring bin, and in this bin is nowhere related to the Java bin. Okay. Because in Java bin, like there are two different things you can say. We need a default constructor, or you can say we need that increments serializable. But coming to the Spring, we can include the constructor, or sometimes we don't want the constructor, we can't include it also. Okay, and here if we consider that Spring bin having the dependency in the form of primitive values, like our class required a primitive variables, then how to solve the things that we have to see. Okay, so tomorrow we'll see example on the setter injection with primitive values and how to install the Spring framework, like the jar files, what is required, and how all the different scenarios that we'll see. Okay, so just an introduction part. What are the three things of Spring I have told, and based on that tight coupling and loose coupling, when you try to write the program for this, loose coupling itself. If you complete this program, then it will be easy for you to understand the remaining concepts. Okay, and you already know that we have a factory method, a method whose return type is an object, or a parameter which takes an object as a parameter. Like in servlets, we have seen the servlet request and the servlet response. Those are the objects actually. And the servlet engine used to create the object and pass as a parameter. The same way, if you see the set method requires an object, and it's a superclass, you can say. So the subclass objects are required to pass to this particular vehicle. As we know that vehicle is an interface, we can't create an object also. We can create only the reference. And by using this reference, if we call the move method, based on the class object, it will execute. That's the most important thing you can say. Okay? Is this point clear till now?
Okay.
Any doubts?
No.
So first, tomorrow we'll see how to install a Spring framework. Based on that, how to write a setter injection example. All those things we'll execute practically and see. Clear?
Okay.
Yeah. And Ramesh, try to.
Okay.